Hello friends, welcome to this episode. Today we're going to be going over the top 10 decks in the metagame. We're 2 days out from the patch of 4.1, so yeah, I'm just going to go over the top 10 decks on masteringruneterra.com, their meta tier list. Link to the website and the deck codes of the highest win rate decks will be in the description. In first place we have Jack Orn, 9% play rate, 52%, 52.71% play rate, 7-1 play rate. This is basically off the heels of Jack getting a couple buffs, and Bone Club got a buff, I think, at least one patch ago, and this is just basically a kind of mid-rangey aggro deck, buffs at stuff a lot. I don't know, it's pretty simple, pretty meat and potatoes. It's kind of like Freljord Demacia. And it doesn't seem there's a whole lot of variance between the other versions. I guess, yeah, unfortunately, the lowest win rate one has Piltover Castaway, which makes me sad because that card is sweet. Number 2, we have Lowy Twisted Fate. There's also just a mono Lowy version going around. Lowy got a buff. Tentacle Smash got a buff. Now it costs 3 mana instead of 4. They didn't change anything because they mega nerfed it when they made it spawn to it from 4. And yeah, so this is actually very similar to the old Lowy decks we had way back in the day, where they're just hyper tempo, they get stuff in play, and they try to overrun you with big tentacles that do very bad things to you. And cards like Syncopation, Ghost, Spirit's Refuge, Unworthy Soul all make it kind of harder to interact with them going straight up. Especially a Trixie Syncopation can weasel around a high-powered unit that you have blocked, so it's kind of annoying. Oh, Ghost also does the same thing. At number 3, we have Gwen Katarina, shockingly taking a whole power off Katarina. Didn't do anything to this deck's win rate. Though Quietus getting a pretty significant nerf, I'm sure does hurt a little, but it's still holding a 56% win rate, and this version is basically the kind of Majin Bay version where it's hyper aggro, hyper all in. This one has a splash of harrowing. This is also relatively all in. Usually if they're playing a lot of Markadales, Mites, and Shunpos, that's the difference from like the older versions of Red Gwen, where they had more harrowings and less like all in pump spells. So yeah, currently all versions of this deck are just trying to jam these very powerful threats down your throat and rally relentlessly. Fire's gonna die for Katarina's sins, isn't it? At number 4 in play rate, just with 400 matches, is Anivia. Just Anivia Shadow Isles. It has a awful win rate of 45%. The highest one has a 47% win rate. I don't really understand why this is popping off. Maybe... Oh, I guess they're trying to do Soul Cleave memes, yeah. Yeah, this ain't it, dog. This ain't it. Maybe there's some tweaking that can be done with it, but even just looking at its matchup table, you know, like, there's a whole lot of red here when you take a look at the top 10 decks. So, yeah, it's not looking great. I wouldn't recommend this. At number 5, we have Ionia Rise. Yeah, they buffed Rise. I forget exactly how. I really don't like Rise, so I kind of blocked it out of my mind. I don't really want to play in a game where Rise is actually really good and just like auto-win champions are good, but apparently here we are. And yeah, currently the archetype's got a 54% win rate, best version 56, low number of matches, early days. But this is basically kind of like a slow stun Ionia tempo-y control deck. Its matchups are kind of like it has some softness to hard aggro decks, but anything slower, anything mid-rangey, it's just like no, and then it'll be able to do the Rise stuff. So there's actually kind of a nice meeting of worlds between what Rise wants to do and how Ionia stalls. At number 6, we have Nora Viego, 53% win rate, 2% play rate. Yeah, basically just kind of a smashing of the Viego, Encroaching Mist package and Nora, and, you know, basically gets to flood the board. It's kind of like a mid-rangey control deck, and a good amount of value from the Vandal City cards, because that's what Vandal City does. Surprisingly, this only has 2 Portal Paloozas. This is pretty good card. Pretty good card. Okay, another version has 3. Not crazy amount of win rate change and a low number of matches, so yeah, I don't know. If you play this, I'd recommend 3 Portal Palooza. Also trying out 2 Soul Cleaves, because yeah, if you target Soldier or Junk Construct, right, you get a good amount of value off of it, and it can help turbo level Viego. At number 7, at a 56.55% play rate, we have Misfortune TF, and this is kind of funny. Like, this deck didn't really get a buff. It's just yieldy aggro. Kind of a interesting thing here is the worst win rate versions don't play Reveler's Feasts. Wait, no, the worst win rate versions play Reveler's Feast, and currently the best performing one doesn't play Reveler's Feast. I don't know how long that's going to stay up. I personally think this card is bloody batshit bonkers, but, you know, I can't argue with stats. Maybe things will shuffle around as the meta goes on. Number 8, we have Plunder, yieldy Plunder. Nothing really changed with this deck, so structurally it looks very similar to how they looked earlier on in last season's, and this was a strong deck, and with Aatrox getting nerfs, right, it makes sense that this would still be floating around. And yeah, basically this is just a kind of mid-rangey, it's not really an aggro deck, it feels like an aggro deck, and sometimes once in a while it does do that, but I guess all mid-range decks do that, and yeah, they're just trying to turbo level their champions. Sometimes they can even get a turn 5 leveled Gangplank. Spirits Unleashed is just fantastic in this deck because not only does it proc Plunder and helps some of your bad matchups like against Hyper Swarm decks like Pirates, buffing all your stuff's really good. So this is partially, I think this card came out like 6 to 9 months ago, but this kind of like led to a resurgence of Plunder, or maybe it more kept it in the metagame because I think it was even then very low. Kind of funny, honestly. GB Sejuani kind of feels like how Viego did for a while, or Darkness did for a while, and actually Heimerdinger, Jace, where it's like they're not the best decks in the metagame and they're not like incurring everyone's wrath, but they're very good and they're still in the top 10, and they always make their way in best of 3 lineups and always end up in seasonals, so definitely something worth taking a look at, getting reps in. At number 9, we have Nora Swain, kind of a mid-range control deck, you know, the same Nora package we saw in Nora Viego. You know, these very good Bandle City cards that are great at gumming up the board, stalling, generating card advantage, combined with Noxian Interaction, Flog, Disintegrate, Death Sand. Sentry, Swain, just, you know, great card. Leviathan, also very good finisher. And yeah, there isn't really a whole lot different between the versions. Currently the highest win rate one has 2 Minimorphs, the second one has 1, the other one has 2. Yeah, pretty meat and potatoes deck at the moment. And lastly, at number 10, we have Feel the Rush. Nothing really different with this compared to how things looked in the last metagame. It's just the deck's really good, it has a unique play style, even though Quietus got a nerf, right? That's not going to be enough to keep this down. And yeah, I personally not really a fan of this. This is a meme. Passage unearned in the main. Yeah. So if you enjoyed this VOD and found value in it, I'd appreciate it if you Quietus that like button. Here's cost 0. Helps push this content to other people. And if you want more Runeterra ranked or Path of Champion goodness, feel the rush, that subscribe button. See you next time.